Alrighty, we've got a lot to talk about in the case of Kiely Rodni, even before any official word has come out about what really happened to her from the Nevada County Sheriff's Office. Let's talk about all this new info, wrong info. Let's talk about Sami Smith deleting a controversial TikTok video she put up after folks started commenting beneath the video and accusing Sami of wearing Kiely's bracelet. I'm starting to feel sorry for Sami. I might be in the minority, but we'll talk more. We'll talk about NewsNation incorrectly claiming that Kiely was in the passenger seat, but I hope what they say is true about the Nevada County PIO promising to try and have some results for us next week. I've sent my own FOIA directly to the PIO of Nevada County to see what she says. Crime Online, I love them, but they're claiming Jagger told Fox 46 that he attended the same party with Kiely. And also, I want to continue into what the family member is saying, that same family member we discussed in the previous video, who talked about the rift between family members who believed it could be foul play versus those who believe it was an accident. Well, now she's speaking more not only about Kiely's relationship with her bio dad, but also with her mom and grandparents. And she's talking about how, after recently attending Kiely's celebration of life, how she feels a bit better about the way that Kiely lived her life, the things Kiely experienced in life, but also she felt a bit relieved that she wasn't the only one in Truckee who thinks something is amiss. She's not the only one who's believing in foul play. She found more people like-minded like her. So that kind of put her at ease that perhaps we might find out the truth. And we're going to speak more on Kiely's song lyrics, how a YouTuber cleaned them up, heard them a little bit better, and gave us some troubling insight into what Kiely was singing about, which included, it appears, notions of harming oneself to an extent, not necessarily unaliving, but there's a lot to talk about. Today is Friday, September 16th, so could we have answers as early as Monday? Once again, today is Friday, September 16th, and I sent another completed application for release of information over to Nevada County, California, for more information in the Kiely Rodni case, because previously I got a response, like I told you guys, that said we expect the investigation, review, and redaction processes to be completed by November 1st, 2022. Well, it turns out, according to NewsNation, we might get more info next week, which would make complete sense. With all the attention that Kiely Rodni's case is getting, you would believe they would release some preliminary information. I'm sure they probably have a macro view, at least, of what happened to Kiely at this point. NewsNation stated they spoke with the PIO, the Public Information Officer of the Nevada County Sheriff's Office. She told NewsNation that she hopes to provide an update next week in the Kiely Rodni case as the investigation continues. Will we get an answer as early as Monday, September 19th? We'll see. However, this is a quote that NewsNation received from Nevada County. We are not providing comments on remarks. They mean they're not commenting on the remarks that Adventures with Purpose made. We know AWP has been pretty vocal about their belief that Kiely could have been the victim of foul play. Our investigation is ongoing. We hope to release the final autopsy and toxicology reports soon once they are finalized. And they are still hoping that someone who saw something at the graduation party can help lead to answers. That does not mean the answers will definitely come back as foul play. Maybe they are still looking for someone who saw Kiely drive off alone and perhaps go the wrong way. We still have, TikTok videos, and we have a bunch of people claiming, I won't post his photo, but allegedly some guy saw Kiely and he was allegedly parked next to her, and fell asleep, and once he woke up, she was gone. We don't know if people like that are legit or not until we get the full discovery from police. Whatever they release next week, which I hope they're able to do, will it be preliminary findings? Will it just say accidental drowning? Will it say homicide? Will it say overdose? According to NBC News, drowning is one of the hardest homicides to prove. And it says that medical examiners only determine drowning as the cause of death after ruling out all other reasonable possible explanations for why the victim went to glory, as my dad used to say. In that case, from the minimal research I did on that, a lot of those findings are speaking about people who were found in bathtubs, like Whitney Houston, or you've seen different cases where a husband might claim his wife just passed out while taking a bath and met her maker. And sometimes, upon further digging, they find out it's not true. But I didn't really find a lot of info about what happens when a person was in a vehicle and what the medical examiner might go through. I know it will be a lot. Extracted the fluid from Kiely's eyes and all this stuff to figure out what could have happened to her. But back to Kiely's song. Conspiracy on YouTube has the lyrics to Kiely's Far Away song. She was able to get a better rendition, or just, she's trying to clean up the lyrics quite a bit, and she was able to hear a lot more than I heard. You can find several videos on her channel I'll link to below. You can go listen to the song. I noticed on Kiely's SoundCloud, she wrote first track out, going deep inside my head, show me some love. So it was pretty cool that she wrote that. And she used hashtags like emo rap and sad, and you could tell she has XXX on her SoundCloud. She has XXX linked to him. She loved him. I listened to a little bit of XXX Journey on the way here from the health club. I like his song titled Sad, and I know Kiely was really into XXX, and you know, there's one song in Sad where I can't really say the word, but he goes, if you ever try to let go, I'm sad, I know ya, I'm sad, I know ya. And so it reminded me of that mode, that emo mode. And when we talk about Kiely's lyrics, comparing them to how much she loved XXX, and I know he was troubled, and I know he was controversial, and yeah, there's a lot that was going on with him, but in Kiely's song, it kind of reminds me of his vibe. And now that Conspiracy has cleaned them up, this is what a lot of people hear. Some people hear different things, but Kiely sang, I began to wonder, did you really ever give an F about me? Because if you start to look around, you'd see these thoughts going through me. I can't get back the memories. The cuts on my wrist tell the stories. The 2 times a year I cried inside, but I cannot make a sound. Now that was troubling. Another chorus says something similar. I began to wonder, did you ever really give a F about me? Because if you stop to look around, you'd see these thoughts going through me. And I can't get back the memories. The cuts on my wrist tell the stories of the 2 times a year alone. I cried inside, but I cannot make a sound. With lyrics like that from a year ago, it makes you wonder, what was Kiely going through? Was it some kind of harming herself going on? I know that happens. I know she might have had troubles and moments, and even interspersed with the happy times, maybe there were sad times. That doesn't mean she necessarily did this to herself, whatever happened to her. It doesn't mean she wasn't looking forward to life beyond August 6th. Before we get into Kiely's relationship with her dad and other issues that the anonymous family member gave us more updates about, let's talk about Sami. Sami Smith has not posted a TikTok apparently since May. Now she had to quickly snatch down the one she posted from all the backlash, not before thankfully it could be saved. In the video you see Sami saying goodbye to her friend. It just says, leaving Zara for college, hashtag college life, hashtag live love Zara, hashtag best friend, love her, hashtag I can't live without her. This is where the controversy also came in. Hashtag LLK, which stands either for Live Like Kiely or Long Live Kiely. I can't figure it out. Then it has the dove emoji with the little branch in the mouth. It reminds me of the Holy Spirit. And then it says hashtag I miss you. So Sami is obviously going off to college. She was saying goodbye to her best friend. She's saying I can't live without her, but then she throws the Long Live Kiely or LLK hashtag in there and says I miss you. So I'm not sure. I'm assuming Sami's saying I miss you to Kiely. So they're dancing to this song. The first 3 comments, people are already going in on Sami. Someone wrote, why you got Kiely's bracelet on? When did she give it to you? And another person wrote, she sure seems super upset her best friend just died. Rose is still a wreck over Gabs, but you, nah, not even the slightest. Another person wrote, completely inappropriate. So you can't really see the bracelet Sami has on. At first I thought she had an Apple Watch on one wrist, but it does look like a thicker bracelet, another bracelet, and maybe 2. It's dark, they're thin, it's hard to see. I'm thinking, how did this person know these were Kiely's bracelets, allegedly? Turns out when you click on that person who wrote that comment, that person is from Australia, Melbourne. I thought it was someone in their circle who could immediately recognize, hey, that's Kiely's bracelet. But I don't necessarily give it much credence now that I see. It sounds like just someone perhaps just running their mouth. They've already decided Sami is guilty. And this is what frustrates me as a researcher when you're trying to dig for truth. You run across comments. There's nothing wrong with conjecture and speculation as long as we distinguish it as such. This person has obviously already decided Sami is guilty of something, and so she's just saying, why do you have on Kiely's bracelet? When did she give it to you? And if you see the video, it's very hard to distinguish what bracelets Sami has on. I guess I just don't like it when people make up stuff and pretend it's fact, or if they don't even listen to my conjecture. For example, when I started speculating, when that family member said she believed Kiely may have been asleep in the hatchback, and I started speculating to say, oh, maybe it was a senior prank. Maybe Kiely fell asleep back there. Maybe someone pushed her in the lake, and then all of a sudden you see that kind of spreading, like, what do you guys think about Kiely being pushed in the lake and falling asleep? And you just want people to be able to separate, okay, this is speculative, this is going down the road of brainstorming, what if? And these over here are the very few facts we have thus far. I feel sorry for Sami because I can't just say, what if she's innocent? I must say she is innocent, unless something comes out and she confesses or cops arrest her or whatever. We treat Sami with due process. She is an innocent girl. But some folks, they might have, I don't know, other issues like a mean girl syndrome, or I don't know what's happening with that, but they're going in on Sami. They're comparing her to Gabby Petito's friend Rose, and Rose was really upset. They're expecting Sami to act the same way. Not everyone grieves the same way. Some people grieve, unfortunately, they might turn to substances. Like we'll see here towards the end, I guess Jagger got some type of driving infraction, and I just immediately said to myself, he's probably just turning to whatever to try and get through his grief. But in Sami's case, she's dancing to this song, Young Lean. It says biatches come and go, brah, but I stay. So people are calling that completely inappropriate. But I've seen grief take on many different forms. My mom died unexpectedly. I was really heartbroken. By the time I got to the funeral, though, I did smile at people because I thought, oh, my mother would have loved to have seen you. People might react in ways you don't expect. But anyway, Sami took that down because she could tell, I guess, which way it was going. She can't even post a video being in the hot tub with her friend, hugging her, saying goodbye, using the LLK hashtag, and I don't know, just because people expect her to be somber the entire time. The family member will touch on Sami's attitude at the celebration of life as well. Yesterday, which would have been Thursday, September 15th, the family member, this anonymous but verified family member of Kiely's, updated us. Of course, she doesn't want Lindsay to find out who is writing this. I believe it's a woman. She's been verified according to the Facebook administrator as a relative. So she wrote an update post. Like she promised, the family member said, "Hello, sleuths. I posted last week about if there was any evidence that points towards Kiely's death being an accident. All of you showed up with theories and yes, some validations of my own suspicions. This is long, but I promised an update, and while not a lot has been provided from law enforcement in the last week or so, I can offer some insight on where people stand, how some are grieving, and some of the inner dynamics I noticed." She said, "I understand why everyone is so upset about the media statement put out on Saturday." So I think when she says media statement put out, I think she's just referencing the Nevada County Sheriff's Office when they said, "Our office continues to receive many questions about the case of Kiely Rodni. While the investigation is still active, we can share that we are the lead investigative agency. We continue to work in partnership with CHP, the Major Accident Investigations Team, and the FBI. We are currently waiting for the final autopsy report, which will include the cause of death and toxicology findings. Our communication with the family is ongoing to ensure they receive any pertinent updates, and our investigators continue to follow up on any investigative leads we receive. We ask that our community continue to support the Rodni family during their time of need." Perhaps next week the findings we get will just be preliminary, and then maybe by November 1st we'll get the full report. I expect it to be probably 21 pages, at least around there. So, to continue with the family member, she said, "I totally understand. It's frustrating and to some insulting of the work everyone online has put in. After all, the true crime community reached out to AWP and helped bring Kiely home, forced law enforcement to gather her belongings from the water. Social media has kept Kiely's name out there. And though I don't agree with the sentiment by some of the family and a large part of the community, I am grateful to you all. I don't believe silence is honorable. It's not true, and the many cases solved due to online sleuthing prove that." So that was obviously a direct response to Lindsay, Kiely's mom, stating there's honor in silence. I found that quote, it was actually a Rumi quote when I used to follow Deepak Chopra before I really got saved by Jesus. It's a Rumi quote. I noticed Lindsay didn't read the whole thing, but the whole thing would have said something like, "Be silent, there's honor in silence." But this family member is saying, "I don't believe silence is honorable," and it's not true. So she's saying, look, there's a time to be silent, I'm sure, but just maybe not in this way, or maybe Lindsay stated her intentions in a way that was misconstrued, I'll say, to be kind. The family member said, number 2, "But there is honor in kindness, though." She said, and that's the double-edged sword here. I've seen so much anger and negativity at Lindsay, and I heard some really scary stories and saw some unhinged posts. I know what she means here. People trying to show up, call the lodge, doxing other family and community members. So that is scary. That's scary, she wrote. I know social media is a force for good overall, but the social media frenzy has brought out some really bad characters, indeed. It's why Grandpa Dave asked everyone to leave them alone, why Lindsay asked everyone to let Kiely rest, why media was asked to leave on Saturday, and why much of the town is hoping to let it go and move on. They are only seeing the hateful comments and not the sympathetic posts. They have received a lot of support within their own community, so that's where trust lies. And the more hateful comments, the more it poisons the well. Now social media has become an entity that attacks and hurts them. Boy, I get that. That's really sad. when she talks about unhinged behavior. Yes, some people don't know boundaries and they see a person on TV or online. Some people, unfortunately, develop a parasocial relationship. They think they know that person. It probably doesn't help that Lindsay lives in the Lost Trail Lodge. It's kind of a popular place nearby or wherever, but, a place where people can try and find and call and get to. Some people from the beginning have really, like I said, gone in unfairly on Lindsay. In my opinion, none of us are perfect parents. Of course, maybe people think, I would have done this differently. I would have done that differently. I would have stayed up all night. I wouldn't have let her go to the party. I wouldn't have given her so much responsibility. I just feel sorry for Lindsay. She's going to talk about her deep grief. But people, they try and resolve their own personal problems. I think that's why folks are going in so hard on Sami. Sami might be whatever, but again, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt, and there are things that might look sketchy, but I'm not going to just go in and dog out this young lady. You see a lot of vitriol coming at Sami and Lindsay and even Jagger and even other friends. Sometimes people start replacing these folks as characters in their brain. Maybe to them, Lindsay becomes their own irresponsible mom, so that's why the hate really comes out. Or Sami becomes the cute girl who stole your boyfriend in high school, and so maybe that's where all that hate comes out. People get into these cases, they cross boundaries instead of waiting and not contacting the family and not doxing people and not running with theories as facts. For example, Jagger posted a couple of TikToks apparently on August 5th, and we can't see where he is. I did question his song choice, and he stated, oh, that's just a popular TikTok song. I was reading into the lyric, always on my own, I'm alone, can you help me or something. He stated, look, that's just a popular TikTok car song. And I verified, yeah, a lot of people use this to go with their car videos on TikTok. I just take it as matter of fact until law enforcement or someone tells me differently. Certain things you just got to treasure in your heart, because we can't make these people guilty in our minds without evidence. So some man is saying, Jagger was stalking Kiely. Looks like his car looks like it could have been by that tunnel near Lost Trail Lodge. He must have been stalking her. We don't have evidence of that. If you're able to point out in a video, see, here is the street sign, or here's this specific evidence that proves Jagger was there, then it's just, and there's nothing wrong with theories, but we just can't present theories as facts. And I might give you a lot of theories, but I'm not presenting them as facts. So I see why people in Truckee, tight-knit community, maybe not huge with social media because of being more where they are, mountain people. I can see why social media would look like this monster if folks are attacking them from the get-go, attacking Lindsay, the worst time in her life, losing her daughter, and then who needs to hear vitriol at that point? You feel bad enough, I'm sure. Number 3. The family member wrote, please know Lindsay is grieving. Tony is grieving, and we all are. So Tony is Kiely's stepdad. She wrote, Lindsay is devastated, and I admit I regret some of my earlier anger at the family. I may have been lashing out too, and that wasn't helpful or kind. I believed they were being naive. And while I believe that still, in some ways, defending the teens, the pain and the emotion are very real. This woman is saying, yeah, she lashed out, she feels bad because, it's like, come on, do something, wake up, demand justice for Kiely, bang down the law enforcement's door and come on. She's saying, I think they're still being a little naive in defending all these teenagers, but their pain and their emotion is real. And we have to realize Lindsay might feel like she needs to mother these teenagers. In her grief, Lindsay might be feeling, oh no, I didn't protect Kiely. I better protect Sami and Jagger and Kate and all these other people since I couldn't protect Kiely in the way I wanted to. The family member said, with the speech she made at the podium, And the song she sang, you could feel the heartbreak. That was a powerful song. Lindsay's voice is powerful. She's broken, but trying to rebuild. So everyone almost needs to believe it's an accident. It's not the way to cope, but anyone who's lost a child knows there's no healthy way to cope with this. The more people attack the family and community, the more they dig their heels in and band together, reinforcing beliefs. It will be very difficult to budge there. So I understand that now. I get it. The community might, for several reasons, want to believe it was an accident. Because, first off, they don't want anyone else to have to go down for this. They don't want anyone else to lose their lives or their livelihoods. It's easier, it's heartbreaking, but it's easier to think of Kiely being a solo person who acted incorrectly and maybe was inebriated to drive, drove herself into Prosser Creek, and that's it. Case closed. No one else has to be questioned. No one has to go to jail. So it's easier to believe that in order to spare Lindsay and everyone else sorrow upon sorrow, like the Apostle Paul wrote in the Bible. Sorrow upon sorrow would be not only Kiely losing her life, but imagine if cops come back and say foul play was involved. There are other people who have to lose their freedom if that's the way it goes. So it makes sense for the community to say, we don't want all this attention, especially on our kids. We don't want this criticism of our parenting, of our behavior. We don't want any of our kids to get in trouble or arrested. We don't want them involved. We don't want this long, protracted, international attention-getting trial if it goes that way. Of course, many people don't want that limelight. They don't want that exposure. People who likely move to that area or live in that area, especially like where Lindsay lived, don't mind being remote. They seek out the solitude. I remember reading the Lost Trail Lodge through their posts. One of them, it may have been Tony, had written, just leave yourself, this was years ago, but had written, just leave your cell phone in the car because it won't work anyway. So it's really one of those places where you go to unplug. Sometimes those roads are so snowed in, you can't go anywhere else. There are people who obviously live there to get away, not to be the center of this international missing girl or crime case. Number 3, the family member wrote she attended the celebration of life and apparently some private ceremony for the family. She wrote, it's true, AWP and Check It TV were not thanked. Not only did they not thank AWP who found Kiely and her CRV, they did not thank the YouTuber Check It TV who found Kylie's MacBook and other items. She continued, I didn't expect them to be, but it was odd and disappointing to hear even law enforcement be praised, but not the divers. So yeah, that's real weird. Praising law enforcement, that's fine, but you can't even say thank you to AWP and Check It TV. I think once this plays out, maybe the grief abates a bit and the scales fall from some eyes. I think people will regret not thanking Adventures with Purpose. I think some people might regret not thanking Adventures with Purpose. Maybe they'll see it differently. Folks won't refer to them so derisively like, oh, it's turning into a reality TV show and it's like a little movie and, all that stuff you've heard people say about them, where again, the proof is in the pudding, they found Kiely. So she continued, but just a little insight, it was social media and agencies that asked AWP to come, not the family. I don't believe anyone expected them to find her car. They thought it was more social media clout chasing. Well, it shows you what they know about Adventures with Purpose. All you have to do is watch 1 or 2 of their older videos to see their history and the answers they have brought to grieving families in the past. If you don't know something, you just watch AWP's videos and you will know how they remove cars and how they float some of them up and the care they take. She continued, and Truckee is very community-centered. So they feel like the energy and passion of everyone on the ground is what supported the family, and that energy brought her back. It's very hippie and spiritual. Even further, some extended family is super religious, so I got the general consensus of this was an accident, let's push forward, find meaning, and move on. No matter what your religious beliefs are, that doesn't mean you don't seek to find what really happened. And I hate when people blame God for stuff like this. That was not God's will for Kiely to be in the bottom of that creek flipped upside down. Some people will try and spiritualize things we should not. They'll say, oh, it was God's will, must have been her time. God needed another angel. God needed a flower for his garden. No, God doesn't want any person to perish. It shouldn't be spiritualized, whatever happened to Kiely, accident or foul play. And it shouldn't be blamed on God. She also wrote, Lindsay is very resilient, she's always been strong, and she raised Kiely to be strong. It's sort of like she can't protect Kiely any longer, so she has to defend the other teens to protect the community. Just an update there. I'm still suspicious of them, especially Sami. Her behavior was strange and carefree. There was no emotion and certainly no remorse. This person, she was there, apparently right there, boots on the ground at the celebration of life, and her view is that Sami's behavior was strange and carefree. No emotion and certainly no remorse. Now, we haven't really seen Sami cry, but I can't assume she hasn't cried. I don't know if Sami has put on a front for others, if she's used substances to try and get her through, if she does care, if she doesn't care, or does she come home and break down over Kiely? I just don't know. So that's why I have to, like AWP said, you can't defame anyone. That's why they're not releasing that interview yet, the rest of it, with the tow truck driver. And if he said stuff about Jagger, if it's even about Jagger, we can't go willy-nilly wild with our words and start just going in so harshly on people. I mean, that's why Nicki Minaj is suing that other YouTuber. I listened and it was like, oh my goodness, she's even going in so harshly and speaking all these negative words over Nicki Minaj's little baby. I'm like, what the heck? Anyway, back to this family member talking about Sami. She said, maybe she hides it well, but I got weird energy and there's still something off there. Unfortunately, I couldn't get more information there except confirm the two of them were not friends. She wasn't part of Kiely's tight friend group. There weren't a lot of teens, but Kiely's group was small, so that wasn't that unusual. Why she spoke, I have no idea. So previously, we talked about the things that Sami said about Kiely, and Sami said she spent plenty of hours with Kiely, and when she got back from a vacation, Sami went to Cha and got a boba tea for free from Kiely, and Kiely, grabbed her and hugged her, and maybe they were more like acquaintances, party friends, acquaintances. Maybe there is something going on with Sami. Maybe it's just her affect. Maybe she doesn't act the way people expect. Maybe it goes deeper, but we can't accuse her of anything. And I hate to see people just jumping on her TikTok, especially if they are lying on Sami. I don't like lies. It makes it very difficult as a YouTube creator trying to put out the truth. Now, mistakes are one thing, of course. We've all made mistakes. I mean, the last video, I must have called the Reno Gazette-Journal everything except RGJ. Some mistakes are just honest. I think what Crime Online said about Jagger telling Fox 46 he was at the party, I think that was just something a person may have intuitively assumed some things when they read an article and misinterpreted them. That's one thing. That's innocent. The woman on NewsNation, saying Kiely was in the passenger seat. That NewsNation reporter, you got to think on your feet, and they're alive and they have all that going on, and maybe she just misspoke. She might have been thinking back seat, but her mouth just said passenger seat. Errors happened. Those are one thing. Those are much more forgivable than a person who's from Australia commenting, why are you wearing Kiely's bracelet? As if that's a fact. When if it's something that's not a fact and it was just made up to lie and make Sami look guilty or feel even worse, that's the stuff I don't like. So let's move on to number 3. This person said, I also spoke to a lot of community members over the weekend. There were more people than I thought that suspect foul play, and some family members. So, this family member is saying when she got to Truckee, she spoke to a lot of community members over the weekend. There were more people than she thought that suspect foul play in Kiely's case, and even some family members. She said that was so relieving. So yeah, she might have thought, oh, I'm the only one, like, Elijah, I'm the only one left, God of your prophets, and then you say, no, look, there's 700, there's 700, a remnant over here that haven't bowed the knee to Baal. Like when you think you're alone, but then you meet your tribe and you're like, whoa. So this woman must have gone out west. Obviously, she lives somewhere else. I kind of have a suspicion who I think it might be, but I won't say. This woman may have been thinking, I'm here in a metropolitan city and I'm like thinking in a different viewpoint than the Truckee folks. But she gets to Truckee and figures out, whoa, there's others like me who are thinking it could be foul play. And that makes sense because sometimes you will only hear a person's real true feelings when you speak to them in person, not on camera. Even on YouTube, we can't get on here and just spout off at the mouth about how we really feel because no one wants a defamation lawsuit. And, here when you're presenting, you have to wait and you have to get facts. You can speculate, but everyone has to say allegedly and you can't go too far. But she wrote, that was so relieving. As you've all said, Bio Dad, Dan, has suspicions. That's caused a rift. And there hasn't been a ton of communication between Lindsay and Dan. I think we could see that with their body language. He didn't speak at the podium or to Lindsay. I shared my worries. He mentioned he was at Prosser with Check It TV on Friday. He is still looking for answers, and I believe he will keep fighting and searching. So indeed, Check It TV, he's put up new footage. Go over there, please check it out. You see him just amazingly with some flippers on, just taking Kiely's stuff, getting her MacBook out the creek. It's closed, and then he's opening it, and it looked kind of perfect on the inside. Just getting stuff as much as he can with what little he had. Check It TV did mention, I believe it was Kiely's grandpa had asked him. It was Kiely's grandpa, I believe, that asked Check It TV, I'll even pay you to go down there and, see if you can find more stuff, which is just so heartbreaking to know that there wasn't follow-up there. This family member wrote, I do need to clear this up though. Kiely did not grow up with Dan. She was raised by Lindsay and Kiely's maternal grandparents. That's why Kiely was so close with her grandpa, She wrote, he's always been off the grid, and it was just Lindsay until years later when she met Tony. If I were to guess, Dan and Lindsay not being on the same page may have caused more friction, and Dan wasn't around much of Kiely's life. I'm not saying anything about his rights as a parent. Please believe I'm just giving insight into what the relationship is. It's not great. Some people mentioned there were barely any photos of him in the slideshow, which is true. If there's one person that is willing to dig deeper, it is Bio Dad. So that answered a lot of my questions. From the beginning, I was like, wait, where's Kiely's dad? And then we saw Tony, the stepdad, with Lindsay. Eventually, we saw Daniel Rodni, Kiely's bio dad. He showed up and he spoke out at that one community meeting, and the way he said, she's your daughter too. These are your kids going to these parties. It was almost as if it was still eloquent, but it was almost as if he was abdicating responsibility, or you could tell there was some distance there by him saying, she's your daughter too. There wasn't the closeness of my daughter. Now, I don't know if they really were very close, but I applaud him for digging for the truth. We all have regrets. So maybe Kiely's bio dad had regrets. Maybe, of course, he thought probably I'll have years to build a relationship with her closer. I don't know how close they already were. I see Kiely used the Kiely N Neiman name on her SoundCloud a year ago, so I'm not sure if she was trying to take on Tony's name and letting go of the Rodni part of her. I don't know what that was about, but It brings so many issues to life. If Kiely was longing for a closer relationship with her bio dad, and I don't know, this is all conjecture based on what this family member has said. Could that have played into some of her longing and some of her lyrics and some of her, if she was troubled? And Daniel, Rodni, now maybe he's really going for the truth because maybe it's his way to make up for the years he thought he would have had with her. And it makes sense of why we could see there's some kind of friction going on because we saw Kiely's grandpa at the shore, which is Lindsay's dad, and we saw Daniel, her bio dad, there, but we didn't see a lot of cohesiveness between Lindsay and Daniel, her ex. And, stuff happens. But number 4, the family member wrote, there were so many other things, but some of the conversations could reveal me. I can answer some questions, but I'm being cautious. I'll end with something about Kiely, though. I think what's made this whole case so difficult is that I feel like her life was cut so short, she barely had a chance to start living, is what I thought. I see that was untrue. Kiely traveled all over, exploring the Galapagos Islands, swimming in bioluminescent waters, witnessing lava flow into the sea in Hawaii, fiddle playing in Ireland, visiting the ruins of Pompeii, and so much more. Kiely experienced more in her 16 short years than many will experience in their whole lives. That gave me slight comfort to know she was happy, she was loved, and she lived life to the fullest she could. It doesn't mean it wasn't cut short. It doesn't mean we should let it go. It doesn't mean we should give up the search. She was taken too soon, unwillingly. I don't know what unwillingly meant. Like she maybe thinks, yeah, it really was not Kiely doing this to herself. And there needs to be a reputable investigation, which has not happened in my opinion, but I don't want people to think she was miserable or trying to run away. She was cherished. She was kind, and I know justice will come one way or another. Even if it's an accident, the truth always reveals eventually. I won't give up, but I respect what the family has asked. I won't hound them for information. I'm sorry if that disappoints any of you. Thank you, sleuths. I will update soon. She came back and replied to a few comments. Before we go through those, let's read Philippians 3:12. Not that I have already obtained it, this goal of being Christ-like, or have already been made perfect, but I actively press on, so that I may take hold of that perfection for which Christ Jesus took hold of me and made me his own. It's kind of like you gotta find your purpose. Why are we here? What are we here for? Someone complimented the family member on it being so well written and all Kiely's life experiences. This woman had also attended the celebration of life, and so the family member said, oh really, I'm glad you were able to come. It was very unique, unlike any memorial I've been to. Too bad about all the terrible smoke, but it didn't keep anyone from singing. I do believe it's something Kiely would have loved. And the person commented, well, at least the smoke stayed away for most of it. There was a lovely cool breeze during most of the memorial. I came away with an appreciation of their community. I've always loved Truckee. I've always enjoyed Truckee, and now I love it even more. The family member said, wasn't that interesting? The smoke cleared for those few hours and returned directly after. Some of the more faith-driven family members said it was a gift from Kiely. This family member wrote, I'm not religious and I was a wreck that day, but I felt like maybe it was. There was a lot of love there. I do hope this doesn't scare anyone off from visiting. So a lot of people had noticed all the smoke, I guess, in the back from fires and such in the area or nearby, and even during the live, people were like, oh no, be careful, make sure, people were thinking, is that fog? What is that back there? But apparently it was smoke. Another woman who's trying to create a spreadsheet of facts left a comment. The family member said, oh, thank you so much. I mentioned to Bio Dad that a group was hard at work gathering information. He's not on social media. Depending on which direction this goes, it could be helpful for the potential PI if we decide to go that route. Thank you. I wish I had your organizational skills. So it's good this woman who is really working hard at building, facts. What are the facts we know that we can put together in a spreadsheet? And this family member, if it goes whatever way, and if she or the bio dad decide to hire a PI to dig further, it could really be helpful. Someone asked, oh no, did anyone in this group ask you to hound the family for answers? We aren't supposed to go real life, especially with Kiely's parents. And the family member said, oh, no worries, no one in this group asked. I meant the family is dealing with trauma, and I'm honestly nervous to ask too many questions. People were holding on by a thread and just not in the right space to share information. I apologize if the word hounding came off as accusatory. It wasn't intentional. I very much appreciate you all. Keep being kind like Kiely. People were thanking her for her kind words and everything and saying just we should cut people some slack when they are in deep grief. That poor mom has been the whipping post this entire time. Some people going so far as to throw accusations. So again, thanks for being the voice of reason. I've seen some stuff where some people are actually accusing Kiely's mom. There's some crazy stuff out there. Like, it's one thing to speculate, it's another thing to really go off the deep end with really hurtful theories, such as Kiely not being a real person. I mean, that's just hurtful to someone who has lost the love of their life, just the fruit of their being. This family member said, I really had no idea how bad it was until I spoke with her. So she means until she spoke with Lindsay. She didn't know how bad the grief was. But she's fierce and a warrior. She's been through so much even before all this. I mostly wanted to make the post to give insight of Truckee and the family. I wanted to tell their side. Saying mind your business or leave us alone isn't going to encourage social media to leave you alone. Providing clear information and doing it kindly, that's going to get through to people. I don't know why things have gotten so chaotic online these last few days, but I do feel protective of the family and I want to help them if I could. I hope this helped you all as well. Thank you to all the moderators. You are all stellar at what you do. Another person wrote, I'm local. I've been searching since the beginning. I've been in touch with some family. I understand you may not be able to answer this, but can you please give me a physical description of Kiely's wallet? Something about her unique wallet. But the family member was just thanking them for their commitment. There are still locals searching for answers. It must be difficult. As for her wallet, I'm unsure of her current one. A couple of years ago, I believe she had a plain wallet, maybe leather. The family is woodsy and rural, not very flashy. So she's just talking about some kind of plain wallet. The family member thinks Kiely had some kind of hand-me-down wallet, but that was a while ago. I'm surprised more leads are being found. From what I heard, those leads were not being shared. Is law enforcement aware? Thanks for your work so much. The family member is saying, I don't know, some folks came up with some leads, but they weren't being shared with law enforcement? I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, this person said Kiely's wallet was described as unique if it is hers. So I'm not sure if that person found a wallet, but the family member said, oh, that sounds interesting. I don't know her current wallet, but I'm sure it could be verified by someone in the close family. Her grandpa identified the laptop, so if it's hers, I'm sure he'd know it right off. Keep me posted. I appreciate it. So this family member sounds like a distant one, but still someone in the know who was able to come to the local community and speak with others. And some other person just spoke about there's a lot of love in this Facebook group for Kiely. They started speaking about their own loss, losing her own daughter and everything, her own grief. And the family member of Kiely said, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. The strength it must have taken to not just lose a daughter, but then to raise two young kids. My heart goes out to you. I grew up knowing my great-grandma and always knew how lucky I was. Grief is a daily struggle for those that have lost a child. It feels unnatural. I don't know you personally, but the way you speak about your family, I believe your daughter would be proud of the family you have raised today. Cherish those milestones and sometimes the songs and scents too. So she's giving others comfort as well. Another person wrote they appreciate her taking the time to point out so much, and it brings them peace knowing that Kiely's dad isn't giving up, that he won't give up until all the pieces to this puzzle have been found and put in their rightful places. They're going on, this person is asking, with so much uncertainty in this tragedy, we all just want to make sure that everything has been investigated and no stones will be left unturned. I would think so many of us would be able to just say, okay, this was really a tragic accident. Had she been found in the front seat, if her friends wouldn't have left her there, especially how Sami said she was very intoxicated. That part of her story just makes me so mad at her and so sad and hurt for Kiely. This is where the family member said he absolutely will, I guess about Dan, not quitting until the puzzle pieces fit, as will all of us. So many inconsistencies and so much negligence along the way. But it comforts me to know he's still on the ground asking questions, and that makes it harder to brush the case under the rug. I believe after November 1st, we'll all have a clearer idea of what we can do. Thank you for the comment. So indeed, once we get preliminary findings, something, whatever we're getting next week, we'll know part. And then if they reveal more, the full report, hopefully we'll know a lot more. Another person wrote, I think you can chalk it up to the SF guy who started all this animosity. Nobody said a bad word on here about Lindsay until she said AWP are not my heroes. They will never be my heroes. I believe this kind of stuff was being brain-fed to them by this SF guy. Just my opinion. I love your recap of the current situation going on. Thanks for taking the time. This person is saying, as I stated before, I'm really encouraged to the fact, us web sleuthers, she ended it with, we got this. Like, don't worry, we've got it covered. We don't have to worry, I hope. So the family member responded, is he reputable? I've only heard about weird feuds on Twitter and none of us knew him prior. So she's talking about SF Investigates there. And then I just want to interject here. I see something on August 30th, the People versus Jagger Lee Westfall. There's some kind of complaint, infraction, traffic ordinance filed. We don't really see driving with a blood alcohol of greater than 0.01. Infraction, traffic under 21. I don't think it was anything, it doesn't sound like he was very inebriated and hauled in for a DUI and all that stuff. Jagger was probably his way of grieving, unfortunately, which might be Sami's way of grieving. Someone else wrote, I saw your last post and I'm so thankful you decided to shed light on the community and Truckee. This person has been going to Truckee since they were 8 and they're turning 40 soon. They went to a family cabin outside of Truckee the Saturday she went missing and they drove right by Prosser. It's been on this person's mind every single day and they're lurking and they're just talking about the family and they're saying their viewpoint about, I believe the mom is grieving. She wants to believe her daughter died from a tragic accident. Who wants to believe that their child drove drunk and left the earth because of it? So they're just going on about that. We all know the truth will come out. And the family member wrote, I'm glad the post was helpful. I know it was lengthy, but I realized there wasn't anyone to provide context, both about the family and Truckee itself. You're absolutely right. You sort of have to be there to understand it all. I was unplugged all weekend. I definitely came out with a clearer understanding of who the community is. She could not have pushed through without them. Lindsay's strong. She's always had the most memorable, booming, and infectious laugh. It broke me to not hear it and not see that person anymore. To lose Kiely's laugh too, it was a tough weekend, but thank you for your comment and support. And I really thank this family member. It really helps shed light and puts a balance to everything. All these crazy theories we hear, all these crazy theories, all this conjecture, all this accidental mistruths and truths coming out. I'm just grateful someone who was literally there, who has literally spoken with Kiely's mom and dad, and they know the history. They give us a little bit more insight into what we're seeing. So this is where we are today on Friday. I have a feeling pretty early, most likely next week, I'm assuming we will get something, even if it's just a few words. If it's foul play, if it's homicide, if it's accidental drowning, if it's vehicular, who knows? It could go anyway. Kiely could have just been unfortunately chasing the air to the hatchback. It could have been unfortunately a tragic accident. Again, we're always in prayer for her soul. I like to light a candle for Kiely. I lit that candle to say, Lord, let your truth come out and prevail. Thank you so much for watching all this. I'll keep posted. We'll see what Nevada County gets back to me with, and we'll go from there. Thank you for watching.